Good morning, it is Saturday Breakfast from BBC Radio Kent. Now here's a very special story. The actions of a war hero from the county of Kent will today be marked at his care home after being awarded the Légion d'Honneur by the French. 91-year-old Fred Preston, who lives in Higham, served with the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment during World War II and at the liberation of Europe. The special afternoon today will feature a medal presentation, high tea, and the performance of 1940s songs. Sharon Clemson is his daughter and joins us on the phone now. Sharon, good morning.
Morning.
This is going to be a very special day for your dad, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. We are really, really excited. Been looking forward to this since I first applied for Dad's medal back in March of this year. So, yes, quite a celebration. Only with a close family and a few very, very special friends. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
And what about the story of your dad's involvement during the war? What did he do that you know of?
His actual troop was the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment Sea Squadron Recce Troop, and he was part of the 29th Armoured Brigade of an 11th Armoured Division, which tells me in itself that the amount of thousands upon thousands of men involved in just one regiment is astounding. I absolutely think that it's right for Remembrance Sunday, for what those guys and women done to give us our freedom. I think it should always be remembered.
My name's Roy Hill. I have the pleasure of being the chairman of the Medway branch of the Royal Tank Regiment Association. I brought a couple of guys with me tonight this afternoon for moral support. And we're honoured to have had dear old Fred as a member of the branch for 30 years to my knowledge. I've been the chairman for coming up 30 years. Fred was there when I got there. The advantage of being chairman is I'll get to go to some very special events. Today is one of those special events. A few weeks ago, Sharon, one of Fred's 3 lovely daughters, called me telling me that she'd applied for and got confirmation that her dad was to be entitled to this award. She asked me if I would present it to him. I must say, us tankies never turned down a challenge, and I was a little bit worried about this one because I didn't think I was high enough up the food chain to present such a wonderful award. As Sharon will explain shortly, Fred volunteered for army service and found himself on the Normandy beaches, which we've all heard about, on D-Day +2, that's 2 days after the main invasion. As a member of a tank crew, he fought his way up through France, Belgium, Holland and into Germany. At the cessation of hostilities, when it was all over, Fred had the unenviable task of helping to liberate Belsen, prisoner of war camp. All heard about that. He seldom speaks of this, hardly surprising. The Légion d'Honneur, the medal, was started by none other than Napoleon Bonaparte to honour those who'd come to the aid of the Republic of France. To my knowledge, the British have come to the help of France several times. Enough said about that. Other recipients of this award are Sir Paul McCartney and J.K. Rowling. Fred, you're in very good company. I'd like to read briefly parts from a letter sent by the French Embassy, if I may. Dear Mr. Preston, I have pleasure of informing you that the President of the Republic of France has appointed you in the rank of Chevalier in the, wait for this, Ordre National de la Légion d'Honneur. I offer you my warmest congratulations on this high honour in recognition of your acknowledged military engagement and your steadfast involvement in the liberation of France during the Second World War. As we contemplate this Europe of peace, we must never forget the heroes like you who came from Britain and the Commonwealth to begin the liberation of Europe by liberating France. We owe our freedom and security to your dedication because you were ready to risk your life. Excuse me. I'm happy to enclose the insignia of Chevalier de la Légion d'Honneur. Again, and once again, I extend my heartfelt congratulations. A bit back to the bit where I was on my shabby print. The award is in 5 levels, with Chevalier being the highest. For those who've forgotten some of their French O-level, Chevalier is horse rider or knight. So, without further ado, it says here, Frederick Edward Preston, on behalf of the Republic of France, I'm delighted and honoured to present you with the Order of the Legion d'Honneur in the rank of Chevalier.
Well done, boy.
Thank you, Roy.
It's quite emotional, isn't it?
Your turn, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. Myself and the family are really, really pleased that you've all been able to join us today on this really special occasion. Dad, nearly 92 now, and being bestowed this prestigious medal, Legion d'Honneur.
That's not bad.
Dad was part of the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, Recce Troop, C Squadron, 29th Armoured Brigade of the 11th Armoured Division. When myself, Coral and Lorraine were kids, all we understood was that Dad was in a tank during the war. However, Dad has, and always will be, a proud tankie. Once Dad moved into Copperfields, I went through all his photos and memorabilia and was shocked and surprised, especially with some of the photographs. It was at this point that I joined a Facebook group dedicated to the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, invited to join by Ray. You're sitting over there. Soon after I posted many photographs to the group, and not long after I was contacted by Steve, who very kindly helped and guided me to this award. A total stranger at this point, but he was a saint, and even managed to get Dad invited to the War and Peace revival as a VIP guest by a Dutch company that had restored an old Comet tank. And to our surprise, on the day, these guys got Dad up onto the tank turret. Emotional was an understatement. When myself, Coral and Lorraine were kids, we often went to Weymouth for our summer holidays. Now, to you, it might not mean anything. Excited young kids with a bucket and spade at the ready. But there was always a detour. And anybody know where? And lo and behold, the Tank Museum. We all used to think, oh no, here we go again. And honestly, as young girls, we weren't interested in tanks. We just wanted to play with dollies and things like that. But alas, we've done it all the same. And hoping, after hearing Dad shout to the tanks on manoeuvres, find the balance, boys, we'd get a stick of candy floss or a 99, which in fairness we always did. He's a truly remarkable Dad who's worked really hard to provide food and a roof over our heads, along of course with our lovely mum, who's sadly no longer with us. Always a family man and proud of all his family, including both his grandsons and his great-grandchildren. Soon after Dad left the army, he met our mum, his wife Barb, and they married in 1950. I came along in 55 with the twins Coral and Lorraine in 1958, and they were together 46 years until Mum sadly passed away suddenly in 1996. I once asked Dad if he would have liked a son. His simple reply was, I wouldn't want to see a son go through what I went through. Well, he was being honest, and he ended up with 3 girls. Most of Dad's working life was in the paper industry, where he worked until his retirement in 1990. He enjoyed the work, but not the shift patterns, as they were often long days and nights. Anyway, moving on, I applied for Dad's medal in March this year. Lots of emails, telephone calls, etc., etc. And finally led to this rightful honour. Where is it? Oh, it's there. Yeah. I always say this, and I've said it many times before, I know Dad didn't single-handedly fight the war. There were so many men and women who fought for our freedom that we all have today. And for that, we are eternally grateful. Dad volunteered in February of 1943 at the young age of 17 and 9 months. Went on to training at Bovington before being shipped across to France on day 2 of the D-Day landings. I don't think any of us here today can begin to imagine what those young men and women were feeling. The fighting and battles along the way were endless. He was demobbed in September 1946 after helping with the dreaded clear-up of Bergen-Belsen. What a job that must have been. I now have a few special mentions to make before I close. Firstly, to everyone for being here, including myself. Thank you. To Copperfields, who I don't know where Amanda is, and Janet and everyone. Well, anyway, Amanda, the star. Thank you for everything. If you was to see what these girls have done today, and it's just been amazing. So a huge thank you from Coral and Lorraine, from all the family. Absolutely brilliant. To the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, to Roy and his comrades here for coming along and joining us today. It's lovely. Thank you very much. But also to Ray, whose dad, Ron, was side by side with Dad throughout a lot of his war years, and stayed good friends for many years. Don't start me off, Ron. And finally to Steve Pannell for his guidance and helping me along the right track to get this medal for Dad. On behalf of my sisters, Coral and Lorraine, and the rest of our family, a huge thank you. And lastly, just to finish this off, I'd just like to remember Ron Westbury, Ray's dad, and Dennis Pannell, Steve's dad, who alongside the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment helped for our freedom. We salute you.
A big thank you to Sharon. Sharon.
Oh, no, I'm not being
From all the family.
Thank you.
For organising this. Without Sharon's input, none of this would have happened. Make it happen.
Everyone got you today? Where I stood, I've been in someone's way.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Is that slice for you, Fred? Is that slice for you?
Will be, the future's not ours to see. Hey, Sarah, what will be, Then I grew up and fell in love. I asked my sweetheart what lies ahead. Will we have rainbows day after day? Here's what my sweetheart said. Hey Sarah, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Hey Sarah,
Just one. I know.
Wait and see.
Hey, well done, Dad.
He was a
Well, I can't agree with that. You expected it, really.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't feel I could stay there. Cheers! Cheers! Cheers!
Cheers!
Cars by a where's the dustman, he wears the dustman's hat. He wears gold blimey trousers and he lives in council flat. He looks a proper nana, he's great big gob now boots. When he asks the jobs that hold him up, then he calls them Daisy Brooks. Some folks be tips at Christmas and others like to get. So when he puts their things up,
He's got the family trees and crops. I reckon if you go back to one generation,
it's not first takes, it goes back over the female
what he's got,
Strangled me.
Well, meanwhile, a 91-year-old war veteran from Rochester has received France's highest military award, the Légion d'honneur, for his part in the Second World War. Fred Preston drove a tank during the D-Day landings. Leanne Rinney went to meet him.
After 4 years to the very month since Britain's battered armies were hurled off the continent of Europe, they went back to Europe for the final showdown.
The task was clear: liberate Europe, but the consequences were deadly. Among the young men who landed on the beaches of Normandy more than 70 years ago was 18-year-old Fred Preston.
I can't remember a lot of other things, but that was the main thing when the Germans knocked us out. We were all picked up in a lorry. We lost the tank, that was all burnt out.
Fred Preston served in the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, and today, after receiving the prestigious Légion d'honneur, he saluted once again.
Extremely proud of Dad and thousands upon thousands of other men and women that fought like Dad did for our freedom.
I am very proud to be given this medal. I don't know what to make of it.
Leanne Rinney, BBC South East Today, Rochester.